What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into his video, I want to give a shout out to the brother Cleveland Williams for the donation to the channel via the PayPal. Much respect to you for showing love to Too Raw for TV. So let's talk about this dude that's on the right of the screen here, right? Let's talk about him. So you always hear, one of the things you always hear over the past 20 years is that he makes the players around him better. He makes the players around him better. It's something that you always hear. Mr. Pass First, right? Even though he's going to become the first player in NBA history to jack up 30,000 career shots, probably this year, but yet somehow he makes the players around him better. But then, at least since the late 2000s, annually you hear this. You heard this from Richard Jefferson's bulb head ass this year. LeBron needs help. He needs help. It's funny for a guy that supposedly makes everybody around him better, he sure does need help. Well, then you say, well, okay, well, maybe he doesn't play with the best talent. Maybe he's playing with, role players. Like Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, the same guy that was playing with basically walk-in type guys, walk-on type guys, undrafted players, and went to the NBA Finals a couple years ago. But LeBron, he needed Dwayne Wade. He needed Chris Bosh. And they were still saying he needed help. He still was trying to recruit Steve Nash. So he's played with a lot of talent over the years. A lot of talent. Arguably, I would say him and Shaq have played with more talent than anybody else in the history of the NBA. And yet somehow, LeBron Ramon James has a losing record in the NBA Finals. The most losses in the NBA Finals history. They're saying it today. He makes the players around him better. I want you guys to give me one player that he consistently made better while playing on the court with him throughout his career. Think about it. Name a player that was marginal before playing with LeBron, where in which he played with him, he cultivated his talent, pushed this guy to be the best player he could possibly be. Instilled greatness in him. And we saw that talent blossom before our very eyes. Name a guy. I can't think of one. I can't think of not a single player. Matter of fact, most of the players that I'm thinking of either already established players or they were role players who went on to play much better leaving this bump. I can't think of anybody. There could be something. Now, you could argue there's been games where, LeBron's played at a very super efficient level. He's in the, quote, zone. And, maybe he's had a few games where some guys have played well off of him for small little bursts. Like kind of like how Mario when he gets the star power, whatever. But consistently, I can't think of it. With Michael Jordan, we all know one guy. Now, there's other guys I can think of. Steve Kerr looked best playing with Michael Jordan. Bill Winnington, Luke Longley, all these guys looked best playing with Michael Jordan. Tony Kukoc, even to me, looked best playing with Michael Jordan. Or at the very least, he took what Michael Jordan instilled in him and for a while played at a high level a few years afterwards. But the one guy that Michael Jordan helped to develop into a great player was Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen didn't come into the NBA averaging, all-star level numbers. Anthony Davis came to the NBA as a rookie, averaging, I think, close to a double-double in limited minutes. We knew that he was going to be dominant. Scottie Pippen was traded on draft night from the Sonics for Olden Polynice. And I would argue that at that time, there might have been some scouts that thought Olden Polynice would be a better player than Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen averaged 7 points a game his rookie year. In their first playoff series together, Michael Jordan averaged 45 points a night. Scottie, I think, averaged 10. This was not an even partnership. This wasn't 1996, back in 1988. But Michael Jordan pushed Scottie Pippen to be great. If Scottie Pippen did not play on the Chicago Bulls, I am certain that he would have been, at best, a marginally better version of Stacey Augmon. Hell, just guarding Michael Jordan in practices, something that LeBron reportedly almost never does, except for in the bubble to get a competitive advantage. But anyway, just guarding Michael Jordan in practices elevated Scottie Pippen on that end to the point where he became, in my opinion, the best defensive small forward in the history of the game. Him and John Hondo Havlicek, the two best. That was playing with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan pushing Scottie Pippen to be the best possible basketball player he could be, because it wasn't all about Michael Jordan and him. See, yeah, Michael Jordan was a great scorer, but Michael Jordan's fundamentals went back to North Carolina. At his heart, Michael Jordan was a team player. Michael Jordan learned how to, even though he wasn't a great owner, we all admit that, he wasn't a great owner, but when it came to looking at great players, he was able to take pieces of their game and implement it to his own. With Scottie Pippen, he was able to look at the raw talent of Scottie Pippen coming into the NBA, saw all the weaknesses that Scottie had, and pushed him along as with himself. Because Michael didn't look at other players and say, "Oh, I want to play with this guy so I can win." No, he wanted to beat the other best player. He wanted to dominate, not just beat, but dominate the other competition out there. And the challenge in his mind is, I'm going to beat these dudes with the guys I got, because I'm going to elevate these players under my tutelage to the very highest limits of their talent. So yeah, with Scottie Pippen, with Horace Grant, with John Paxson, with an aging Bill Cartwright, with young B.J. Armstrong, he was able to form a dynasty in Chicago. He didn't need another superstar like who. He didn't need Charles Barkley. He didn't need to play with Patrick Ewing to do it. He wanted to beat those guys. And he did it with Scottie Pippen. And the things that he instilled in Scottie Pippen were evident when Michael stepped away in 93, and we saw Scottie Pippen blossom into a superstar. In 1994-95, Scottie Pippen became just the second player behind Dave Cowens in 1978 to lead his team in total points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. He became known as, between that time period, 93-95, he became known as the, quote, best all-around player in the NBA. In 94 and 95, he finished in the top 3 in value over replacement player, or VORP, both years. In 95, he led the NBA in defensive rating. He became the shortest player to lead the NBA in defensive rating since the NBA-ABA merger in 1976. And without Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, who played in 72 games that year, was able to elevate the Chicago Bulls to 55 victories. Now, of course, you had the great Phil Jackson coaching. And, of course, you had Horace Grant, another player that Michael Jordan helped to cultivate, and B.J. Armstrong, another player that Michael Jordan helped to cultivate as far as their talent, being all-stars for that year, 1994. Matter of fact, it was going against B.J. Armstrong in scrimmages that pushed Michael Jordan to come back to playing basketball in 94, late 94 into 95. This doesn't get talked about as much. Michael Jordan was just going out there and just padding his numbers. He created a winning culture in Chicago. People forget how terrible the Chicago Bulls were when he joined the team in 1984. They were terrible. You had traveling circus acts. Acts, I guess. Traveling circus acts selling more tickets than the Chicago Bulls. No disrespect to Reggie Theus and them guys and Dave Greenwood, but they sucked. People said, "Oh, the Bulls only won 38 games Michael Jordan's rookie year." That's what a Nick Wrong would do. But he doesn't tell you that the year before, they only won 27 games. In a 4-year span, Michael Jordan had the Chicago Bulls competing against the bad boy Pistons in the conference semifinals. In a 5-year span, he had them in the conference finals. This doesn't get talked about as much. And he never quit on the Bulls. He never quit. Even after that heartbreaking Game 7 loss in 1990 in the conference finals, we know the guy on the right would have quit his team. We know that. He would have quit. And the media would have given him every excuse to do so. You can't rely on Scottie Pippen, man. The biggest game of his career, he has this fake headache, and he goes 1 for 10, and the rest of the Bulls starters plus B.J. Armstrong missed 46 out of 57 shots. I mean, you can't win with these bums. And they would have given him an out. And that's just one of many reasons why you can't compare these two when it comes to the GOAT. One did more with less than any other player in the history of the NBA. The other one can't get enough. He's like Galactus. He's a devourer of other people's talents and gets all the credit. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. What you guys think?